Last question, and then we got to wrap it up. Can you please explain why a blog on a subdomain is better than a blog in a subdirectory? It's not that it's better. In the past, the reason why I would always do blogs on subdomains for like multi-location local businesses, for example, or a blog on a subdomain as opposed to in a subdirectory. So like blog.domain.com as opposed to it being in a subdirectory. So like, for example, if you have an e-commerce site that doesn't have a blog functionality and you want WordPress blog, you could install it on a subdomain, right? So blog dot whatever the domain is, or in a subdirectory. If it was in a subdirectory, then it would be /blog, right? Domain.com/blog, and it would be a separate WordPress installation in that directory, but it would appear as if it was like an internal page blog, like on the domain. They serve the same functionality. The only difference is, in Google's eyes, if it's in a subdirectory, it's part of the root domain. So if you were to be content marketing from the blog and you were to catch a penalty for something, then it would affect the root domain and it would negatively affect the domain. It could penalize the entire domain. So all of the pages and stuff that from the main site could be penalized from that. Even though it was from the blog was the one that caught the penalty and it was in a subdirectory. On the other side of that, if it were in a subdomain and the blog were to catch a penalty, it would isolate that penalty to the subdomain, not to the root domain. So it's just a way to protect. It's a way to mitigate risk. In the past, I used to always build all like multi-location sites. So for example, if I had a tree service client, primary location, I'd build the primary website on a root domain. And for each city that we would expand into, if we had a separate GMB location for each city, we would create a separate WordPress installation. So it would be like culpeper.bradstreeservice.com, fredericksburg.bradstreeservice.com. Each one would have its own standalone WordPress installation for the reasons I just mentioned. In case any one of them were to catch a penalty, it would only isolate to that one particular subdomain, as opposed to taking all of the locations down because they were in inner pages. I don't do that anymore for two reasons. One, as you really grow the footprint, it can create an enormous amount of additional work, updating WordPress sites and all that kind of stuff. Number two, I haven't caught a penalty in years, and it's because of what we teach with the SEO Shield and entity-based SEO. We don't really do much at all to the on-page itself or build anything directly to the money site. So the likelihood of catching a penalty is slim to none. And so therefore, I'm building things on inner pages now. Again, I talked about this in the mastermind, that I'm starting another lead gen project in the mastermind. It's going to be for a teaching opportunity. And I'm going to be building everything on inner pages so that I don't have a bunch of sites to manage. And so that's something that you can learn in the mastermind. Anyways.
Well, we were mitigating danger, right? We were mitigating against the possibility, because we used to do some dirty shit to subdomains. I mean, let's be honest. That's the reason why we would go into subdomain, because we were doing so much dirty stuff.
Yeah.
Now, since we stopped doing all that and we realized, wait a minute, we can protect ourselves. We can still do all the dirty shit that we do, but protect ourselves if we just take it off site, so that on site, the root domain and everything that's within that root domain and folders, whatever, it remains pristine. It never gets touched. It builds backlinks naturally. It just looks as natural as any other website on the web. So there's no reason for it to even lift a red flag. So since we're doing that, there's really no reason for subdomains. You can go into folders, and you can go categories even, right? Locations. You can go services. There's so many different ways now that you could do it, and you're powering up your entire domain by doing it this way. You're adding more relevance, you're adding more trust, you're adding more authority, and eventually you'll add more activity because you'll attract more traffic. You'll get more love from Google. But the only reason why we were doing that is because we knew that what we were doing, we were not supposed to be doing to the subdomains, and we knew that the possibility of a penalty was really, really high. Now, we haven't worried about penalties since we instituted the SEO, what we're now calling the SEO Shield, or entity-based, worryless SEO.
Yep, and that's true. It's changed my strategy too. So, fortunately, and I'm glad, because it's much easier to manage now. Like, I love it. It's our cheat code, because, again, we build the SEO Shield, power that up, and it just works repeatedly. So